Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
There he is, our traveling man, Kyle Theige, representing in Los Angeles, back home in Portland now, coming back to the Twin Cities for games 3 and 4. We were just talking off microphone. It's a crazy weekend in Minnesota sports. You've got Vikings draft for 3 days. You've got home Timberwolves and Wild home games alternating. Big Twins homestand against the Angels. I'm sure attendance is going to be booming for the Twins this weekend. So kind of crazy. All four of the men's professional sports teams got big weekends ahead here, my man.
And we can't take that for granted, right? Because there's going to come a time for all the people listening in the Midwest where you get through the 4th of July and you're having a great time at the lake, and you kind of look at the sports calendar and it's like, okay, the Twins are 40 and 64 and NBA is in its hibernation and the NFL has kind of gone away for a little bit and hockey's too warm for ice. This is a huge sports weekend in general, and it's also a huge sports weekend for just downtown Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota. So I know the weather is not supposed to be as it was in LA, because LA was beautiful and sunny. But I think if you're looking for something to do this weekend, and it starts tonight, right, with all you guys at the Fillmore, but what a weekend for hockey and football and basketball, and I guess maybe baseball.
Yeah. Well, the Twins trying to keep up. The Twins are struggling right now. Struggling to get 10,000 people in that ballpark. But yeah, let's dive in. This is you and I just kind of convened. You texted me last night. You have like a day between your travels, and we're gonna be hitting record here, and then I'm gonna run over to the Fillmore for the draft party. So there's really no set agenda here. We don't have a random wolf of the week on this episode because our guy Ross is helping to run the draft party. But this is the first time that we've been able to really have a conversation after game 2 here. So I'm just curious, your thoughts. You were in that locker room. I feel like I woke up the day after they lost game 2, which was an ugly, just awful basketball game in so many ways. The lowest scoring output for the Wolves all season. But I actually woke up the next morning and thought, I'm more confident that they're going to win this series after watching the first 2 games in totality. The Lakers have not, the Lakers are struggling to score 100 points in these games against the Wolves. They were struggling to score 100 points in the regular season against the Wolves. Some of those were injuries. Anthony Davis was still a Laker. But the Lakers are struggling to score. The Wolves are not going to shoot 5 of 25 from 3. They do have to adjust to the Lakers were much more physical, much more crowding shooters and crowding ball handlers. So there's an adjustment there. But I said Wolves in 6 or fewer before the series. Nothing that happened in those first 2 games is moving me off that take. They stole home court advantage, and now it comes back to Target Center. Curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's important that during this playoff run, I know the demo or the listenership from Southern California has increased. So it's important to remind people that this is the Timberwolves Lifestyle Podcast, and we are a little biased. I was reminded of how biased Lakers media are, being around all of them and seeing some of them wearing Laker polos this past weekend. But when I went into this series, I told you I kind of felt similar to how that Sun series went, of okay, there's way too many people just picking against the Wolves. And I thought that the Wolves would win in 6 games, clinching it at home next week on a Friday. Then you watched game 1, and the story out of game 1 was the Wolves are a lot better than maybe national people realized. And the Lakers' whole message was, we didn't come ready to play. We need to be more physical. After game 1, JJ Redick said at practice, we had our best practice in 2 months. We're going to be more physical. And then in game 2, for those first, I would say 12 to 18 minutes, the Lakers really did play with a level of physicality that is playoff basketball. And I think if you asked Finch and some of the guys, it wasn't just physicality; it was a lot of fouling that maybe didn't get called. Again, the whistle in this series is going to be wild no matter what, because one team gets a lot of calls and the other team is really physical. So you're going to miss a lot of stuff. But then you watch the totality of game 2, and I went from thinking or maybe hoping the Wolves in 6 to, and you know me, Phil, I'm not the most confident person in the world, believing that it's going to be the Wolves in 6, because I came away from that game 2 being there in LA, and I didn't really think JJ Redick and his team made any real adjustments. There's this whole idea now of this zone concept that Ant is seeing when he gets the ball and all 5 guys kind of pivot to this weird zone that's like more than just your typical gap help, and they have to solve that. But I just saw a team that played really hard, but I also thought the Lakers in game 2 played really hard for those 12 to 18 minutes, and then they kind of ran out of juice. I thought after game 1, Vando was going to play a lot, and he played 8 minutes in game 2, and he was the only Laker player of the 9 that played that was minus and plus minus. So it's like, okay, that's not an option. Jackson Hayes played 9 minutes. I think Gabe Vincent played 8. They only played 6 guys double-digit minutes, and 4 of those guys played over 40. And I was just thinking, I was in LA for way too long. This series all of a sudden now, starting Friday, is like a back-to-back. Like, it's essentially like Friday night, 8:30 tip in downtown Minneapolis, and then Sunday at 2:30 tip. You don't really see that in the schedule, and now there's a lot less rest time for a Lakers team that doesn't have the depth, is relying on an older LeBron, is relying on maybe not peak athleticism Luka. So I just think that the Wolves are probably going to take care of business this weekend. And we'll see what happens with officiating, and if LeBron has that other gear. You never want to doubt LeBron or Luka, but I thought the Wolves played their worst game I've seen all season against the Lakers on Tuesday, and they lost by 9. So I came out of that whole series, those first 2 games, feeling much more confident in my pick than I did, I think, going in.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to the LeBron factor. He was much better, and I thought his energy was different in game 2. But people talk about LeBron like, okay, well, there's going to be this playoff hulking version of LeBron is going to pop up, and you're going to have to deal with that at some point in the series. That guy has not existed in 5 years. He's still a really good, generationally savvy, high IQ basketball player. Like, he is a problem, don't get me wrong. But there's not like a 44, 15, and 12 performance coming to save the day multiple times in the series. Like when I referenced, 10 years ago, they were down 3-1 in the finals to the Warriors. It was like LeBron's looking around like, all right, well, let me crack my knuckles because I got to go for 48, 18, and 11 tonight if we're going to have a chance to win these games. So he's a problem, but people kind of treat him like he's something that he was maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. I think Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, when he gets switched on to LeBron, have done a good job just like keeping him out on the perimeter. He's having a hard time getting to the rim as much as he wants to, and the Wolves, I think, would live with him just shooting long 2s and 3s. The other thing that's driving me nuts about the narrative of the series here, and even like the crowd, you were there in the arena for both those games. Part of the Lakers' offensive strategy has been, let's spam pick and roll with Luka until we get Rudy on an island. Yeah. And like if we have to spend like 15 seconds of the shot clock getting Rudy on an island with Luka, and then the crowd starts to go crazy. Oh, here we go. He's going to cook Rudy's ass. But then when you dig into the data and the eye test, by the way, like how many times did he run Luka out of the paint and into a kick out or something? According to Synergy, in the series, when guarded by Rudy Gobert in isolation, opposing scorers are 5 of 12 from the field. So they've only gotten 5 shots in the bucket over 2 games on Rudy in isolation. In game 2, Luka and LeBron combined to go 1 for 7 when Rudy was guarding them, which is kind of, sometimes it's like partial possessions or whatever. But my criticism of Rudy in the series is not, he's getting cooked by Luka, he's getting posterized or whatever. I need him to grab a couple more rebounds to end some of these possessions. If he could grab like 4 more rebounds in game 2, maybe it swings a different direction and the Lakers aren't getting all these second chance opportunities.
Yeah, the idea that Rudy Gobert was going to get played off the court, that narrative was all about the defense. And that has, again, this is kind of like, do you know ball? If you watch the games, he's been borderline fantastic in these straight isolation, gets pulled out to the perimeter situations. Being at Staples Center for those first 2 games, it reminded me, I said this before, of like when Kevin Durant went to Rucker Park a couple summers ago, and like all of a sudden it's like a one-on-one isolation and all the fans are like standing up and coming on the court. Like that's how the Lakers fans treated that. And I was like, okay, I guess cool. Like I think Rudy can hold his own here. Plus then you're eliminating all of the movement and off-ball stuff, and it's just 4 other Lakers players watching Luka who got a couple times on Rudy, or LeBron, who I don't think in isolations against Rudy, I don't think he scored yet.
It was like 0 for 3 or something, I think, in game 2. Yeah.
So I think for Rudy, the idea that he's going to get played off the court because he can't handle his own defensively has been proven more than wrong. The reason he's kind of getting played off the court, or Finch is having to maybe go to a little more Julius and Nas lineups, is to what you said. He's not giving them any offensive impact. And being there, watching those two games, like 6 feet around the cylinder is just an absolute UFC fight. Like, he's getting held, he's holding guys. Like, it's hard for him at some points. I'm not going to call everything, but I think he's had maybe 8 points in the first 2 games. He had 2 points in their first win and then 6 points on Tuesday. So I thought he would be an X factor of getting offensive rebounds. They can't go bigger. Like, Jackson Hayes has played like 8 minutes and 9 minutes. They just can't go any bigger. They're not going to play Alex Len. So Rudy just needs to be a little more active offensively. But defensively, the numbers, Alan Horton tweeted this out, the Wolves are still just far better defensively when Rudy's out there than they are with Rudy off the court. So that is going to be something for, I think, Finch to toggle is, can I get a little more from Rudy? But, I mean, Rudy Gobert had the same amount of rebounds on Tuesday night in game 2 as Mike Conley.
Yeah.
So that's got to be something they clean up. But this idea that, everyone saw Luka get by Rudy, do the ball fake, and then finish that little thing, and everyone's like, oh, I just witnessed a murder. It's like, that was the only 2 points he scored against Rudy Gobert in isolation. So
it's funny that that clip gets more run because it's Lakers than the play where Rudy came out near half court, absolutely picked Luka's pocket, and then went the rest of the way for a reverse layup. Let's make that clip go viral. On the defensive net rating front, when Rudy Gobert is on the court in this series, the Timberwolves have a 105 defensive net rating. 100 is like as elite as you can get. But 105 defensive net rating, which is 105 points allowed per 100 possessions, that would have been the number 1 defense in the NBA this season, ahead of Oklahoma City. So and same thing in the regular season. When Gobert is on the court, the Wolves had a 109 defensive rating. That would have been the second or third best defense in the league. I think they wind up like 6th when you take the whole team in totality. So it's just like, last thing on Gobert, because I know sometimes I think people just think I and we are these Gobert sycophants defending this guy. He's not perfect. He certainly needs to do more on offense, needs to grab more rebounds. I'm not saying he's played a perfect series. But again, the narrative going in was they're going to play him off the court. And the reality is they can't score 100 points specifically because Rudy Gobert is playing 25 to 30 minutes in these games.
Yeah, this was the Alan Horton stat that I wanted to say, but 53 minutes on the court in the first 2 games for Rudy Gobert. The Lakers are shooting 23% at the rim and shooting 48% overall. And then 43 minutes off, the Lakers are shooting 32% at the rim and 73%. Overall.
Wait, so give me that. When he's on the court, they're shooting what percent at the rim?
23%.
He has 1 block in the series. That tells you that you can hold a team to 23% shooting at the rim without blocking shots. And that's the problem, is like the things that don't happen. It's the shot that gets a little, you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone comes into the paint, LeBron comes in. Well, there was a Luka shot. Luka got into the lane, or maybe it was LeBron. But Rudy is like, he's literally like, his hand is 11 feet in the air, leaning toward this little mid-range, and it hits off the right side of the backboard. Mm-hmm. It's not a block shot. He didn't get the rebound, so he had no defensive statistic on the play. But he forced the ugliest shot of the entire half. Mm-hmm. And again, I just feel like the guy gets way, way, way too much disrespect, and he gets these narratives put on him because he had bad perimeter defenders in Utah for 5 years.
It's an off day for me, right? I just woke up this morning in my bed for the first time, and I was like, oh, thank God I can, and I was like, I need to do so much laundry. I butchered that stat, so let me give it to you again, and I think it'll clarify my takes here. When Rudy's on the court for 53 minutes in this series, the Lakers are taking 23% of their field goal attempts at the rim, and they're shooting 48%. So less than 50%. That's terrible. 40%,
48% at the rim is atrocious.
And
atrocious.
I bet you the Wolves are shooting worse than that at the rim. That was one of Finch's takes after game 2, is that we are just missing a ton of baskets around there. I mean, even in game 1, I thought they were really poor within that 6 feet range. It just gets so muddied down there. You watch Julius Randle, it just seems like he has all of his children on his shoulders at one point. In the 43 minutes that Rudy has been off the court, the Lakers are taking 32% of their shots at the rim and shooting 73%, 16 of 22.
So they're getting way more attempts at the rim and auto converting those attempts when he's not on the court.
Yeah, and again, so that's kind of the trade-off. I think Rudy's just inability to have some impact offensively is part of the reason why the offense really got stagnant in game 2. But again, I just keep coming back to how do you think – I thought it was really interesting. It's a really dumb stat, but the Lakers scored fewer and fewer points per quarter in game 2. Like they came out guns a-blazing in that first quarter, and then it kind of trickled down. And then I think in the fourth quarter, Luka and LeBron went 3 for 13 for like 4 points, and they were 0 for 4 from 3. Again, I think Luka in a Lakers uniform at some point is going to have his superpowers. They're going to have a roster built more around him, and LeBron probably won't be there. But I'm not criticizing two of the best players ever. I just don't know how much gas is in their tank or how many levels they can continue to go up. So that's why I came away from game 2 being like, it's a bummer you lose that game because there were multiple times. Do you remember about 6 minutes into the third, it was an 11-point game, and that's when Redick had that meltdown where they called the timeout where he was F-bombing everyone.
Whatever we doing?
Yeah, but that was an opportunity, I think, for them. 11 points, timeout. I think the Lakers came out and went on a little bit of a 6-0, 7-0 run to bump it back. Then there was that fourth quarter opportunity. Wolves down 8. Ant gets the ball in transition. LeBron chases him down because he's still really good. And that could have been, a 6 or 5 point game that then turns into a 10-point game again. So you should be frustrated that they they weren't able to be greedy and get another game, because going down 0-2, going on the road for the Lakers would have been a pretty uphill battle. But I do think overall, big picture, being around the team for 6 days, just the vibe, they are happy enough with 1-1, but they also, I think, have it in the minds a little bit. They weren't good at home in the playoffs last year. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of times where and I don't think it's the fan. I mean, I think the players just kind of didn't have the right juice. The fans are always incredible. So coming up to this series, a series that I'm going to be curious to see inside Target Center, how many people are wearing yellow and gold and white. Hopefully the fans show out and just kind of make that place Staples Center wasn't that loud, to be quite honest with you. But I hope the home court advantage these guys can kind of rely on and lean into, because they have a real opportunity here now. The Lakers can advance in this series unless they win one at Target Center.
Yeah.
And if you can defend, your turf, I think that sets up really well for them. And also too, just the fact that they have the depth and the shot making. What did you think about game 2? Because this was a big talking point after the game. What did you think about the fact that the Wolves, I know they only made 5 threes, which was tied a season low for them. They only took 25 of them.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I led with right away on the post game live stream is what my just eye test watching the game. It felt like the Lakers, they brought a completely different energy crowding the Wolves at the 3-point line. And also just like they were picking guys up before the half court line. I mean, JJ Redick clearly said, dudes, it's because 3-point defense is less about the make percentage. It's more about preventing the threes from happening. Like great 3-point defensive teams aren't allowing 42 attempts in a game on a regular basis. They are. So to me, only allowing 25, it wasn't like the Wolves were passing up a bunch of wide open looks. The Lakers are making it hard to get 3-point shots off. And so that's one of the things that if they continue to do that, what's the counter punch? Can you unlock Rudy inside and create some more? The other thing too that might be contributing to some of the first quarter problems, because the 8 quarters that have been played, the Wolves have gotten just blown out in the first quarter twice, and then they've either won all 6 other quarters or kind of like broke even within a couple points. The Lakers are really switchy on defense, and part of what makes the Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert lineup combination so great is like pick and roll, and Mike gets into his little floater bag or throws one up to Rudy, whatever. Like that option is there, and it seems like the Lakers have completely shut that down. And I'll throw it back to you, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot from just, you were there, and I'm wondering if there was any conversation about this around or after game 2. If the Lakers are going to basically switch everything, and the Wolves starting lineup is kind of hamstrung because of it, would Finch consider changing up the starting lineup, bringing Conley off the bench, putting a DiVincenzo or a Nickeil Alexander-Walker in place of him? Or asked a different way, how can the Wolves not be down by 20 points in the first quarter, I guess?
I think it's such a fascinating, that should have probably led this pod, because that is, to me, the one item, the one topic I want to see on Friday night, is that the Mike and Rudy pick and roll has always been something dying.
Dude, you're like the Wolves starting lineup right now.
Okay.
I got to sub in a new throat
sound
here.
Like Tibbs. The Mike and Rudy thing has been a weapon that they can go to at times when it just gets a little stagnant, right? It's like having all these different, menu items. Like, okay, we're going to lean into that for a little bit, a couple possessions, and it's always been such a nice, successful way to get either a bucket or get Rudy at the line or just get, some good movement. And that's just completely gone away in the first two games. And it, as I'm packing behind me, it's making me think, like, I brought board shorts to LA because I was going to the beach. I'm probably not going to need swim shorts or swim trunks in Minneapolis this weekend. So, like, do I even pack them? And if I'm Finch, it's like, if we're not going to go to this one task item that we have that's really successful because the Lakers are switching everything, then what does Mike serve you other than maybe a spot-up shooter, right? Because he can't get by these guys. I mean, the Lakers don't have elite perimeter defenders, but I don't know. Austin Reeves can move his feet a little bit, and Mike hasn't been able to yet get by those guys. And that doesn't mean that Mike's cooked or bad. He really came on at the end of the season. But maybe this just isn't a Mike series. Like, that happens all the time where it's like, this isn't a series for that guy. So I'm going to be curious to see how those first 5 or 6 minutes on Friday night play out. Mike only played 4 minutes to start game 2, and then they pulled him. But if they did pull a lever there and make an adjustment or lean into it, I would just bang the table for Nickeil in that spot, because I think Dante and Nas should have their minutes like tethered together, like the Bash brothers. Because I think they play so well together, and I don't really want Dante to have the expectation on him to like be the point guard. I want him to be in that second unit where the chaos and all that stuff. So if it's not a Mike game, I think you'll know early on in game 3. I would like to see Finch, who you and I are big fans of, but has also shown a propensity to just be very conservative and very stubborn in his ways. He can't keep going back to the Mike well if you're not going to use what Mike does best, and that's run and pick and roll with Rudy. Because if he's just going to be a spot-up shooter, I think there's other guys on this team, Dante and Nickeil specifically, that can give you the spot-up shooting while also just giving you other stuff.
Yep. Also, I have a couple random questions for you to wrap this episode, but I do want to shout out the Terrence Shannon Jr. minutes. And I think we all kind of figured if they expand the rotation to a 9th guy, that it would be Jalen Clark. I still think there's a Jalen Clark lever to be pulled at some point, especially the deeper you get into the series, where energy and fatigue become a thing. It feels like the Wolves can reach down further into the rotation and throw dudes out that they trust for 15 minutes, like a Jalen Clark. But Finch chose to go the Terrence Shannon Jr. route instead of Jalen Clark. And that game was like on the verge of getting out of hand. And he just brought this burst of lightning energy. He was doing a good job face up on Luka, on LeBron. He did get called for that one foul. But the Wolves wound up cutting what was like a borderline blowout 20-point deficit down to like 14 or 13. It was a +7 in the last half of the first or of the last half of the second quarter. So I wonder how far Finch would push a 9th or a 10th, probably not a 10-man rotation, but like that 9th spot for some bonus minutes here going forward in the series.
I think you and I are giant Jalen Clark fans. And I believe firmly that if you were like, who is a 9th guy that could sporadically get minutes in this series, I would pull TJ over Jalen Clark. Just because, no offense to Ant, but I think when Ant gets in transition, he's always hunting an advantage from 3, right? Like a pull-up, step into it. He's awesome at that. Terrence Shannon Jr. is the best Timberwolves player in transition as a rookie. Like, he just gets a full head of steam going downhill, and he's going to put pressure on the rim. He's going to try to draw fouls. Again, he was 4th in the country last season at getting fouls in college. So like, he knows what he's doing. When it gets into a half court, they don't guard him. So he's going to be spotted up in the corner for sure if he gets minutes, and he's going to have to hit those threes and not take the ball to the basket. I mean, they do need to continue to space these things out a little bit and punish the Lakers if they do leave them open. So But I also think we're just wasting time a little bit talking about those guys, even though we think they should play. I think if Finch can, he's just going to lean into these 8 starters.
Yeah.
He loves those guys, whether we agree with that or not. But I just think if they wouldn't have had crazy foul trouble to Nikhil, obviously Dante, and Nas, Finch said post-game that they were like, yeah, we thought Terrence could give us an advantage there, give us some good minutes. I don't think he would have played if there was no foul trouble, but he is a weapon that he also had. It ended up in a foul because Luka is really good at drawing fouls, but he had really good defense on Luka where he moved his feet. He's physical. He didn't let Luka get by him. He fell for the pump fake, but he would be a lever that I would pull if it gets a little, you just need a juice or a little boost or whatever. I think Terrence, 5-6 minutes, God forbid, maybe 2 stints of that would really benefit this team from just an energy standpoint. But again, hitting those corner threes would probably be the make or break if he gets to stay on the court.
Yeah. Okay, 2 random questions before we hit the road here. Send you back to another airport, come into Minneapolis. Your favorite random celebrity sighting inside Crypto Arena?
You always hear about it, right? Like you watch the games, whether it be at Madison Square Garden or Staples Center, now Crypto, and you're like, oh my, they do the celebrity cam. Like, that's crazy. I'm going to be brutally honest. Being in there, I don't know how people focus. Like I actually did like a list of celebrities I saw, and I was like, this is bananas. The coolest person there for me, because I met him and we actually talked after game or during game 1, Jack Black. I referenced this after that game, but he actually talked to me a little bit and shook my hand and was like, that number 3, that tall dude's really good. And I was like, yeah, it's my favorite player. But on
can hear his voice as
we were staying in LA Live. That's where the Edmonton Oilers were playing. So I saw Connor McDavid get his coffee every morning. But I think the coolest person, I'm watching Shrinking right now on Apple TV. Shameless plug. Jason Segel is a lot taller than I thought. Really cool. Seems like the nicest guy in the world. So between Jack Black and Jason Segel, I mean, Floyd Mayweather was there. Kevin Gates was there. Go Google the Kevin Gates, LeBron James situation. There was, by the Wolves bench, a 4-person row of Jimmy Goldstein, our guy.
He was in Minnesota for a bunch of the games.
I bet you he's going to be there this weekend. So it was Jimmy Goldstein in seat 1, Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers in seat 2, and then in seat 3, Alex Rodriguez, and in seat 4, Mark Laurie.
Amazing.
I was just like, just imagine
under the basket,
guys,
right? Under the basket, kind of
chopping it up. So there's a lot of celebrities, a lot of beautiful people on both sides of the spectrum. But yeah, I kind of get sometimes like the Jordan Poole effect when you're like, wow, Jordan Poole went crazy tonight in LA. I get it. There's motivation on both sides.
Yeah, you
so,
don't want to look like a dumbass in front of Jason Segel or Jack Black.
The coolest celebrity that I got to talk to and hang out with was our guy, Craig Kilborn, because he took us out for dinner. Cool spot. Got to meet someone who starred in the movie Goodfellas, Johnny Roast Beef.
Okay.
And Kilborn runs that city, so I know he's listening, but that is Craig Kilborn's city, and got to talk to Michael Grady a little bit this weekend. So it was fun to be in LA. It was fun to get that first win. But now you kind of pivot to what can Minnesota do at home? Who are the celebrities going to be on Celeb Row? Maybe you and I. So
that's right. It's gonna be very D-list local celebrities like Phil and Kyle.
Good. It was a good experience down there, hanging out with people. But I think this team, just behind the scenes and talking to them, like I think they really continue. That game 2 loss is a bummer, but I think it kind of flipped them back to being the underdogs again and being doubted. I think they're only 3-point favorites on Friday night at home. So that's the mentality they need. That's what they're going to lean into. They are frustrated with the officiating. I think fans are very frustrated with it. But if they can play a level of physicality and a level of defense that has kind of been their calling card, obviously more so last year, I think the shots will come. I don't think you're going to see Nas and Dante have stinkers like that, but there's a real sense on both sides, Wolves and Lakers, that this team can shock the world and kind of shock a lot of the national pundits. And it starts Friday night at Target Center.
One more random question for you. Your thoughts on Skip Bayless? Looks like he's sunsetting the 20 years of LeBron criticism and hatred, and he has now found a new young NBA superstar to pile on, the Can't Man, Anthony Edwards. He's not the Ant-Man. He is now the Can't Man, according to Skip Bayless, who did a 15-minute rant about how Anthony Edwards is overrated after game 2. And listen, Anthony Edwards, we talk about his flaws, playmaking, certain things, right? I might have waited just like a few more games until after the first round to drop the Can't-Man stuff, because if they roll off 3 more wins here, now you might have to rescind it. But your thoughts on Anthony Edwards overtaking LeBron James for the next generation of Skip Bayless hatred?
It reminded me, I saw Floyd Mayweather courtside. He had more security guards than either the Timberwolves or the Lakers, but he is my wife's height. He is very short, so when he punches up because he's a short guy. And when you quote tweeted that Skip Bayless thing, I had basically, honestly, transparently forgotten that he existed. And I think that's what Skip does now. I don't know what channel he's not on. I don't know where his podcast isn't being held. But yeah, he is probably realizing LeBron is 40, going to be out of the league soon. I have to find a different person to punch up at. And I will say this, Can't-Man kind of sticks.
I like it.
I don't like Skip Bayless, but I kind of like it. I love a good pun. So yeah, well, I think Anthony Edwards, too, just kind of the topic around him. Obviously, he had that viral moment after Game 1 or during Game 1 that he had to pay up for. He is $50,000 less rich. But coming back home, Ant really does love it here. And I think we need a big Ant game. Like, he felt it out in Game 1. He had the half court or the halftime adjustments where he kind of got on his guys and they came out really swinging in that third quarter of Game 1. He gets his shoulder kind of banged up in Game 2 early on, and it kind of stunned him for a little bit. I think he was not as aggressive in the first half as you would need him to be. Obviously, second half, he came to life a little bit. He had a wrap on it post-game, but Ant loves that stuff, and I think Ant will respond in a good way to Skip Bayless and whatever he says on whatever network he's at now. So, but that's what you got to do, right? You got to find a new target, and I think Anthony Edwards, as we debate if he's the face of the league or will he be the face of the league, that's the negative stuff coming for Ant. But yeah, he can put a lot of those guys and quiet them up Friday night if he goes out and drops 36 and 5.
Yeah, you can't wait till you're down by 20 points to fully engage in the game. And I get the shoulder thing. He was just rubbing his shoulder the entire first quarter after that screen, so I get it. But yeah, a fast start, ride the energy of the crowd, and we'll see. We'll see what happens here on Friday night.
I'm just excited, man. I'm excited. A huge weekend in Minneapolis.
So much fun.
I'm excited for you guys and all the content you're doing for the Vikings and Judd with the Wild and us with Flagrant Howls and Dex. Thanks for taking one for the team.
He's at a Twins game right now. Yeah, appreciate you, Dex.
Burning White Sox Twins today. But it should be a big weekend, and the weather's not perfect. But this is one of those times, again, my best memories, Phil, from last year aren't really the games or the results themselves. It's just seeing all those people in downtown Minneapolis having a good time. So you get a Friday night game where I would imagine everyone will be very lubricated. And then a Sunday afternoon game where, again, if you want to have a beverage or two, you got some time until Monday morning to burn it off. So I'm excited to see everyone, excited to get back. And so let's see what happens in Game 3 and 4 of what I think is maybe the most interesting playoff series in terms of whoever wins this one is going to the Western Conference Finals.
Wow. Amen, dude. He's Kyle Theige, jet setter extraordinaire, A-list local celebrity, rubbing elbows with the Jack Blacks and the Jason Segels at the coffee machine. This is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. See you guys.